Okay, so I'm going to get started, and Kimberly is going to come online. I'm going to turn the chat off so that I can be a little bit more fluid while I'm talking. And Kimberly will come on and talk to me when she needs to get in touch with me to just have your questions be asked. I'm going to start out in iPhoto. You don't have to keep your templates in iPhoto, but I do. And I have a special library for them because these are differently keyworded than any of my other things. My content would be keyworded with pink, ribbon, bows, etc. My photos would keyworded with the trips or put in albums based on that, and I have my templates in its own album. And I'll just briefly, this is how I roll. This is not how you have to roll. But if the templates have a theme or holiday that's pretty obvious, I'll put them in an album for autumn, Christmas, Disney, things like that. I have, I have probably 3,000 different templates actually. If I have alphabets that are PSD files or crafts, different crafts or boxes, things to make, I'll put them into their own little miscellaneous file. And then I have cards, different size cards. These are smart albums, so if the file name has Maya de Leon or Connie Prince in it, or whatever keywords like CAP for Connie Prince or SWL for Scrapping with Liz, if the title name has Scrapping with Liz in it, then it'll automatically throw it into this album, Scrapping with Liz. And then I also have them sorted out by sizes. So my 12 by 12 and my 12 by 24 are the ones I use the most. And I have them all sorted by 12 by 12, and then I have them keyworded too. You can see I've keyworded them for the quantity of photo spots there are. I've also keyworded them if they're kind of grids. Then I'll say grids. If they're like this one, we'll say 7 photos, and I think it should say grid. It may not. If I go Command K, I'll see my keywords and see that it says grid and 7 photos. Okay, so today I just wanted to give you that little brief overview of how I keep my information for templates in iPhoto. Your mileage may vary. Organizer, which is part of the Photoshop Elements suite or the program that you bought, may work perfectly for you, and it's just that I had started this adventure before I really knew my way around Organizer at all, so I went here. So I'm going to go back to Scrapping with Liz, and I'm going to pick this template. And there are 2 ways that I could get this over to Photoshop, and there's actually 3, but one way would be for me to right click and say edit an external editor, and I've set it up so that Photoshop is my external editor. If you don't know how to do that, I have a tutorial that is on our How to Scrap on Mac YouTube channel for that, and it's also linked in the notes on How to Scrap on Mac Facebook. Or I can take this and I can drag it down to my Photoshop icon, and it will open up in Photoshop. I have a lot of processes going, so it's taking some time, and this is a TIFF format, one, not a PSD, so it takes a little bit longer to open, but it is smaller. When you open up a template, the person who designed the template might use fonts that you don't have on your native computer. That's okay. So you'll get this warning. Some text layers contain fonts that are missing. It's okay. One nice thing about this is that it doesn't do the substitution until you're ready for it to do the substitution. One thing that Storybook Creator Plus does is it automatically substitutes if it doesn't know the font. Photoshop will approximate it, and it isn't until I go to click or edit the text that it will force me to find a replacement font. So now I have my template open, and we can see here over in this area, in the lower right hand area, that I have a bunch of layers, which you're familiar with, layers, because if you've used Storybook Creator Plus, or if you've used SBC Studio, you're familiar with the concept of layers. And here are all the little shapes that make this template. And here you can tell that this is a text box because it's got this T icon, and it's telling me that this is the one that I don't have the font for. And here, let's give a little tour here. This little FX means that there's been a shadow or a style applied to the shape. So it's making this shadow that most designers tend to put the shadow up and to the left. So that has a shadow. If I double click on that, we'll get the layer oops, wrong. Click the wrong place. If I double click on the FX, I'll get the style settings, and you can see that it has a drop shadow applied to the shape, and the size is 18 pixels, the distance is 13 pixels, and the opacity is 65%. And you can play with these shadows, and it looks like the color that she's chosen is kind of a brown color. So you might want to change that, and I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. I just wanted to give you a little tour. So now let me go get some photos. Now I would normally have my photos in iPhoto, but because I knew that I was doing this thing, I didn't want to change libraries, and so I put my photos that we'll use today in a little folder. And I wanted to show you too that you could do it from a folder and not just from iPhoto. But here I have my photos that we'll use, and I'll just drag them down to the icon, and then they'll open up. We'll just wait a minute while I open up, and while those happen, I'll open up the Join Me. Why brown and not black? I don't know. She just uses brown, but that's not possible to change. She just tends to use brown because that's one of the colors in her color palettes. Let's see. So they're still opening. While they're still opening, I'll show you a couple of other little things. Oops, here we go. Up here on the upper right hand side is a link for Organizer, which is I have a tutorial too where I've shown you how to keep various pages and items in Organizer to kind of have it act like an album. So if you want to know how to do that, check out that little tutorial. Here in Effects we have, let's see, we can go to Shadow Styles, which is a basic shadows. This is the one that comes with the program. Drop shadows. So it's this little icon with the two photographs. Those are your styles. And then you click here and you get your selections. Now I have added quite a few. This is the default drop shadows. And I have added some other people's styles that are more scrapbook oriented so that they, let me just pick one for a second. This one is Tracy Stroud Shadows, and it's available at Scrap Orchard. And in each of the buttons, she has given you a shadow to use for a particular kind of embellishment, because different embellishments will give a different shadow. A flower would come up off of the paper casting, a softer, deeper shadow than a paper would, which would have a shallower, narrower shadow. Okay, it looks like all of my photos have finally imported. And so I'll go back to my template. And I'm going to start at the bottom. I usually start at the bottom and work up, just how I roll. You don't have to, but it's sort of just my method. So when I select this layer, you can see that there's a bounding box around the shape. And here's a little gripper that I can rotate. And in fact, I can rotate at any corner by just going around the sides. I can rotate. And I can grab a corner and scale the shape too. I just wanted to show you that you could do that. Okay, and then at the end, to keep the changes, I can click the checkbox, or I can double click within the shape, or I can hit return. If I did not want the change, I can click the, let's see, I'll do that again. If I don't want the change, I click the cancel current operation or escape. Escape will also cancel the change. So if you grab something by accident and you don't want it to scale, just hit the escape key and it won't take. That is probably one of the things that I needed to get used to the most, was committing things, but honestly it can save your bacon sometimes. Okay, so now let me show you how we get a photograph onto this spot. So I'll pick one of my photographs that I have down below. These are from the Botanical Gardens in Dallas. And here's one that might work there because most of the picture is vertical. And I'm going to drag it onto my project. And it will be huge. But that's okay. We'll just transform it. It'll be as big as the whole paper and maybe even bigger. Okay, so it's on there, but you can hardly see it because it's behind all those other layers. And what I now do almost every time, instead of hitting the grips, is I'll go Command T. That'll change it to transform, and then I get those little things. And I will, I can just say 25% as a starter. Constrain proportions. Oh, not 255, 25. And if I want to have it be at the top, it's not going to let me do it. I can have it scale to the top by clicking on these little corners. So if you want it to scale to the reference point from the center, you can reference point to the center. You can reference point from the upper left-hand corner, or you can decide where you want it to scale to. And while it's in transform mode, I can easily move it into place. And I can see now that I made it a little too small, but that's okay. And I can just drag it and reposition it so it's where I want it more or less. And then I can hit enter to commit that change. We're going to do that again. I have a lot of processes running, and this is a 6-year-old Mac, so I apologize for the speed of my computer. Okay, so now I have picked an, oh, I've gone against my methods. I've got to go down to the next layer. Now I'm going to go Command and G to clip the photo to that spot. In this case, it didn't really matter because it's behind everything, but it will matter the next time, and it's a good habit to have. So I'm going to select this next layer up, and I'll pick another flower picture and drag it onto my project. Wait for it to insert. And I'm going to go Command T again. And you can see it's ginormous. If I zoom out by going Command minus, you can see how big it is relative to the page. I'll select the upper right hand corner and I'll say I want that to be 25 was too small last time. I'll go with 35% and get that there. Select check mark. It's transforming it. And I'll bring it into place. Now you see it's a little bit bigger than the spots, so it will be important this time to go Command G, and that clips the photo to the spot. Command 0 to bring us back to full-size scale here. I'll just do it again. I'll go Command G to ungroup it. And you can see that it's not just the size of the blue paper. And Command G to regroup it, or reclip it, and there it is. And I can still move it around. It's clipped to the shape, but I can move it around and find out where I want it to really go. And I can't move it up too much. There we go. And now that's in place. And I'll go up to the next layer and we'll do that again. Actually, that would probably be a good one for paper since it's behind almost everything. That's okay. I've already started to insert the photo. I'll just move it up the layer stack to something else. Command T. I'm going to pick the upper left-hand corner so it stays on my project. Pick 40 this time. Hit enter. And it's transforming. And see, not too much of that picture will be seen there. So I decided, oh, that's a mistake. So I want it to be on a different layer. So I'll move up my layer stack until I see a place I want it to be. Maybe this top left corner. Put it above that layer. Now I need to move it up there. And do Command G, see where I am. And I can move that around a little bit too. Okay, so now I say I want some papers or something like that. So I'm going to change my libraries real quick, hopefully really quick, to go to my scrapbooking content library. This is a very small sampling of my content. And let's find some pinky papers. There we go. We'll just pick these. Just easy peasy. And I want this paper. I'll take this pink one, this peach one, this flower's cute, and this paper clip. And I'll just drag these on down to Photoshop icon. Let go. Don't keep holding on to it. And those will open. While those are opening, you can see here's my undo history. You can select to view it or not view it by going to view, and you can the view at the top here, selecting undo history. What's different about Photoshop Elements and SBC Studio and SBC Plus is that you can actually see the history of all the steps that you've taken so far. So if you mess up, or you want to go back a certain amount of places to undo something, you can just go and click it without just going Command Z, Command Z, Command Z. Oh, I've gone too far, Command Y. You can kind of just see where you are or what you've done. And even if you're want to tell somebody directions on how to do something, you can look at your undo history and see all the things that you did, so you could tell other people what you did. So let's go back to this layer here, and we're going to clip a paper to that one. And I'll go down in my project bin, and I'll find this paper. I'll say that one's fine. And I'll drag that onto my project. And that's a 12 by 12 paper, so it's going to take up the whole project size, and it will automatically be centered because of the way that I brought it in. And then I'm going to go Command G, and it will clip it to just that little shape that's behind everything. And if I know for sure that that's what I want to have there and I want it to be there, and even if I'm not sure, I could still, right now Photoshop, if I save it, it's going to save the information of this whole piece of paper, and I'm only keeping a small little piece of it right here. So if I wanted to make my file a lot smaller, I can go Command while over the picture, or while over the layer of the paper, Command E. Command E will merge the paper into that shape, and now it's only the size of that shape. And if I decide later I want a different paper there, it's no big deal, because I can just drag another paper onto here. And wait for it to open. There, I can just drag another paper onto there, clip it the same way, Command G, and then I'm sure I want to commit that, no big deal, Command E, and those two layers get merged together. Merge down. Okay, so that's the basics for bringing in papers and embellishments. Let me also just bring in an embellishment just for giggles. I'll go to the star layer, and I'll drag in this flower, which will automatically go to the center. And you can see it's actually, there we go. And I'll bring that down to where the star is. And I'll delete the star. I can drag that layer to my trash can. And the star will be gone. And you see it looks a little flat, and everything else has a shadow. So now I could go through every layer and put in photos, put in papers, but honestly the computer's acting so slow with Join Me running and QuickTime recording this that I'm going to now just go to changing styles. Or first we'll do text, and I'll just start with the text. I can double click on the text icon here, and it will go into edit mode here, and I can select the title. One thing I like about Liz's templates is she actually makes it live text, and then I could just say I don't know, beautiful. Go to my move tool, move that over. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. There we go. Now that's pretty boring font, so I can select the whole thing, and I can go up to here and see my fonts and choose another font. One thing, if I know the font that I want to use, I can start clicking that font right here, and let's see, and then I can even, there we go, that's pretty, Scriptina. I can even use my down arrows to go up and down the fonts and see how it looks on my text. So I'm going to commit that. And I don't want it to be brown, so we're going to go back in there and we'll change that so that it's not brown. I'll double click on that again. and I can change my color to anything that's on the page, or perhaps we'll go black here, and then commit that. And I didn't do it. There we go. Black. Fine. I'll go back to my move tool, which is also V. And I don't like my text to have shadows on it, so I'll probably go over here and text that thin anyway to have shadows on it. So I'll go over here and I'll probably get rid of the drop shadow. But I do want a shadow on this flower. So I can select my flower. Cancel. I don't know what I've just done. I just undid a whole bunch of stuff by accident. But that's okay. I'll just click here and get it back. There we go. There, we're back in business. Click on the flower, and I want a flower shadow, so where are you, flower? I'll just double click on that shadow style and it will apply the flower shadow style. Now I have my shadow in the different direction than everything else, so I want to fix that. I like my shadows to be down and to the right, pretty conventional. And so I'm going to change this shadow, and I'm going to go to button and element and make it the other direction by double clicking on the shadows or clicking apply. And you see it's moved the shadow to the other side of the button. And if I want to do my papers, now here's a really cool thing. Here, I'll do my papers. I'll do the paper I have selected, and I'll pick, this is the layered paper. I want one, nope, this one. Flat paper, and apply. Now it's moved the shadow down and to the right, and I want that to be on all of my papers, so I can easily go right click somewhere here in the middle, copy the layer style, and then I can select all of my paper layers. Lion, not used to it still. And hold down the command key by selecting multiple layers. And then I can right click and paste the layer styles. I've only done 2 more here. But it will move, and I can copy and paste the layer styles to other shapes. And I can continue to do that. I can just paste the layer style. That might have been the one I started with. And here's the thing now. I want to apply this shadow style to the paper that's being clipped to. If you apply it to this picture of the flower, it won't work. It has to be clipped to the shadow style needs to be onto the shape itself. And I can do it here too. This one I've already merged, so I can paste the layer style to that paper. Okay. There's other things that we can do with styles too. So let me just play with the text here, and I'm going to get a chunky font. Here's a chunky font, and it's pretty big. I'm going to type, I don't know, sample. You see, nothing showed up because it's behind the paper. No big deal. I can move it to the front by going to Arrange, arrange, bring to front, or you could see that there it showed you a shortcut for, I didn't spell sample right, it showed you a shortcut was just Command Shift right bracket, and that will bring it to the front for you. Sample, let's spell that correctly. Photoshop does not have a spell check, so I advise you to type your journaling and then copy in and paste it into a text editor of some sort that has spell check, and then paste it back and have it do the check for you, because you will not have it in this program, which is a shame. Now I can double click on this and change the font. But the nice thing about Photoshop is I can literally just grab the corners and change the scale of the font and commit that change. Now I can change the color of this font, and I can apply a style to it. So I'm going to just quick apply a shadow style to it for giggles. And then I'll double click on the FX. And I'll get rid of the drop shadow because I don't really want that, but I just wanted to get a little FX. And I can make a bevel. And I can make it have a 3D effect by adding a bevel. You can see that. And the thing is that I can apply these styles to the text, and it will still be text. It will still be editable text. I could change the font right now, and it will just have a bevel on whatever font I chose. I can add a glow, and there's an inner and outer glow. So if I wanted a burned letter look, I can do like an inner glow and pick a different color, or an outer glow to give it some shine. And I can add a stroke to it, and a stroke, like in SBC Studio, it's a line around the text. So I can, it's a black right now, so you won't see it. So let me change the color of the stroke to white. And now it kind of has like this little sketchy look to it, and a stroke, and I can change the size of the stroke so I can make it look like a sticker almost. See? And I can even make it even bigger to make it like, you know, see? It kind of makes it look like a word art now. And okay. And then see, the cool thing is that I can still edit it. It's text still. I've applied all these things. I didn't have to flatten it. I can change my font. I can change my text. Test. Cool. Huh? So there's that. Now I know when you open up Photoshop there's all these tools over here, and it can get really a little scary, but you see I was making a page with very few of these tools. I was using the text tool, I was using the move tool, and you should probably learn how to use the marquee tool. The marquee tool actually grabs something like for real to make it cut and paste. So if I wanted to, I'm going to go ahead and delete this text, or I'll turn off the eyeball so that it will be off. If I wanted to copy and paste part of my picture or something like that, I'd use the marquee tool. Click on the photo. Go back to my move tool, marquee tool, which is M, and click this part, and now now it's really selected, and now if I go Command V or Command C to copy, Command V to paste, I've made a new layer of just that part. And there it is. But you don't have to use all those tools, although there's a great tutorial set that Kimberly shared with How to Scrap on Mac that walks you through each of these shapes, each of these tools, and tells you exactly how to use them in a really basic and easy to understand way. To unselect this, unselect this, Command D to deselect. But really, I've made, with the tools that I've just given you, shadow styles, text styles, and the clipping mask, that's really all you need to know to start getting pages done. And the rest of this stuff, you'll learn that in time. You'll just, you'll need something, you'll figure it out and learn it. But really, you can just get started with those basic things. So I'm going to, whoa. I'm going to, I meant to maximize join me, but I also minimized my tutorial. So if anybody has questions, I can go over it, or if there's something that you've been wanting to know how to do, now's the time to ask. Does anybody have any questions? No questions at all? Nothing that you'd like to see, a special trick? Where to buy shadow sets. Okay. The one that I use today is a Tracy Stroud shadow set, and that's available at Scrap Orchard. One Little Bird Designs also has a shadow set that I use, and I like hers as well. Hers are a little bit crisper than Tracy's, so it depends on the page that I'm doing whether I'll use Tracy's. Tracy Stroud has one, 3 angles, one down and to the right, one down and to the left, and one up and to the left. So that's pretty good value for the money. And there's sales all weekend for National Scrapbook Day, of course. And let's see, Shell has a shadow set too. Shell's Designs, she's also at Scrap Orchard. She's got a shadow set that I haven't used. And if you buy them, you will there will be a PDF in the file that will tell you exactly how to install it. So you just need to follow those instructions. Any other questions that didn't get answered as I was going along, or something that you'd like to see how to do? Maybe you've played with Photoshop and got stuck somewhere. Somebody's typing. That's okay. Recoloring. Okay. Let me find something to recolor. Let me close this huge file. It's making my computer cry. Oh, one thing that I didn't do, let's talk about saving for just a second before I move on to recoloring. You see here I'm editing the actual template, and that's bad form, because if I save that, then I'm saving over my template, and I've lost my template. It will now be these flowers and everything else. So I'll want to go to File, Save As, and then choose it to save as a PSD format or a TIFF format. So because it was a TIFF format coming in, it's defaulting to save as a TIFF format going out. And so what I'll do is I'll save this to my desktop so I can delete it later. Maybe I'll save it to my desktop. TIFF desktop. Alright, it's not letting me do that, but I would save it to a TIFF, and the presets are LZW, zip, and you want to make sure that your layers stay on. Make sure that it's a layered TIFF file, or save it as a PSD file, which is the default file type for Photoshop. So I'm just going to go ahead and close without saving. Alright, so let's recolor this. There's a couple of ways that we can recolor this flower. One way would be to go to Enhance, Adjust Color, and Replace Color. And I will select this pinky color here using the dropper to select the color pink. And you can see that most of the image is now selected. It's mostly this pink hue, and this is my replacement hue, and I can go pick a target color, and I'll move my sliders down to blue. And you can see that it's automatically just changed it to blue, and it didn't get all of it here, so I had to change my settings here. But you can change it to color blue or ecru, and you can see you want to kind of keep it in the same. If it's like light pink, you kind of want to make it a light blue. Do that, and then I can change the fuzziness a bit so that it'll get more of that pink color out of there. And I can also just change the hue and the saturation down here to make it bolder or lighter. That's one way. And you see the center. This center has stayed white. Yeah, it's way better than Studio. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to the beginning, and there's another way. Here's the brush tool. Now, we didn't talk about the brush tool, but there's a number of things here. See these little black arrows at the bottom right corner? That means there's other tools hidden in there, and to see those you can go Option and click on it and see all of the, or switch tools by hitting Option, or click on the arrow, just on the arrow, and you can see it should fly out and show you the tools. But this is the color replacement tool, this one with a little yellow box there. And now this is my foreground color, and that's what it's going to get painted. And I'm going to mode color, contiguous, tolerance 30. Let's see what happens if we do 30. This is a very small brush right now, so I could go up to here and change the size of my brush. Or I could just go right bracket, and I can change it so I can get a really good idea of what my brush size is relative to my element. And here I'm just going to paint the color on to the flower. That's my color change tool. I'll get down here too. I'm just painting, and see how it keeps the hues. Let me get my brush a little bit bigger here. And I might have to change my tolerance a little bit. on the paperclip part so that it gets more of that pink color and changes it to this blue. Okay, so there you go. And you'd have to keep playing with it, but you see that that's mostly changed right now. And another way to do it, let's go back to the beginning. We'll go back to our pink. This is where having the undo history open, as I can just automatically go back to the beginning. I can make an adjustment layer. I can make a hue saturation layer. This was going to make a new little layer. Whoa! It's going to make a new layer above my existing layer, and it'll change the hue of whatever's below it. So I can just move these sliders around. Right now it's white. I have to actually fill the color of the hue saturation layer to something else. So let's make it yellow. See? So I can change the color that way and just sliding the hue and saturation layers. And the thing about that is that I haven't actually changed my flower. If I turn this layer off with the eyeball, I'm back to my original flower because I've just changed the, I've just added a layer that kind of gives it an overlay and never touches the original. And that's how I edit my pictures now too. I don't destroy the original, I just add these adjustment layers over top of it, which allow me to hide bits of it or mask bits out without ever really touching the original photo. So if at any time I need to go back to my picture and start over or change something, that's really easy to do. So that's 3 ways you can kind of change the color. Anything else? Any other questions? Okay, well, I will finish this recording then, and I will try to upload it to YouTube also. So thank you for coming, and I hope you learned something. And if you have any questions, you know where to find Kimberly and me on How to Scrap on Mac, as well as Jessica, Diane, and our very helpful Lori, who has been around and answering lots of your PSE questions as well. So thanks, Lori. All right, thank you, Kimberly, for handling the chat, and we'll see you soon. Bye.